Have you ever walked into a room and noticed how certain people naturally draw others in? They don't force it. They don't try too hard. People just want to be around them. It's not about being the loudest or the most outgoing. It's not about looks, money, or having the perfect life. It's something deeper, something anyone can develop with the right mindset and habits. This video is about helping you become that kind of person. If you've ever felt invisible, misunderstood, or like people just don't stick around long enough to know the real you, this is going to speak to you. Because the truth is, becoming someone others naturally want to be around isn't about changing who you are. It's about bringing out the best in you, consistently, calmly, and intentionally. We're going to walk through a step-by-step approach to becoming the kind of person who makes others feel at ease, respected, and inspired. These are small but powerful changes, like how you listen, how you speak, how you carry yourself, and how you manage your energy, that make a real difference. You'll learn how to create trust, spark genuine conversations, and build a presence that quietly stands out without needing to dominate. This isn't about learning tricks or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about building character. It's about choosing how you show up in every room, every moment, every day. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what it takes to attract deeper friendships, healthier relationships, and more respect from the people around you, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you've taken the time to grow into someone who lives with honesty, focus, and care. So if you're ready to start making real changes, not just feel better for a few minutes, but actually improve your life in a lasting way, stick around. What you'll hear next isn't just good advice, it's a clear path you can follow, one decision at a time. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Build unshakable confidence by showing up every single day. Confidence is not a gift some are born with. It's a choice, a decision you make every single day to show up regardless of how you feel. It doesn't arrive in a flash of lightning. It's built one morning at a time, one step at a time, one uncomfortable moment at a time. The truth is, most people wait until they feel ready, until they feel bold or certain. But that day doesn't come on its own. It only comes when you stop waiting and start showing up. And not just when you're motivated, especially when you're not. Confidence grows when you keep promises to yourself. When you do what you said you would do, even when it's hard, that's when you start to trust yourself. That's when something deep inside you shifts, and people notice. They don't need to hear your resume or see your success. They can feel your energy, because confidence isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet, it's steady. It's someone who walks into a room not needing attention because they already know who they are, and that kind of person attracts others without trying. You become that kind of person by showing up every single day, not by being perfect, not by pretending to have it all together, but by being real, consistent, and committed to progress. People trust those who are dependable. People follow those who are reliable. And you trust yourself more when you become someone who takes action, no matter how they feel. That's the real beginning of confidence. It's not about being fearless. It's about moving forward even when you're afraid. You wake up and you feel tired. You still show up. You feel uncertain. You still show up. You failed yesterday. You still show up. Confidence is not about the absence of struggle. It's about your decision to keep moving forward with strength, no matter what is happening inside you or around you. It's built through small actions repeated over time, waking up on time, saying no when something goes against your values, finishing what you start, facing hard conversations, practicing a skill even when you feel behind. These choices shape your character. They teach your mind that you are capable, that you are someone who follows through, and that belief is powerful. When you start showing up consistently, you stop needing external validation. You stop chasing likes or approval. You stop living based on what others might think, because deep down, you know you've earned your own respect. And when you respect yourself, people will feel that. You won't need to impress anyone. Your presence will do the talking. It doesn't matter how far behind you feel. It doesn't matter what your past looks like. You can start today. You can show up for the life you want to create. Maybe that means getting out of bed on time. Maybe it means making that uncomfortable phone call. Maybe it means speaking up in a room where you'd normally stay silent. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be consistent, and it has to be real. The people who grow the most aren't the smartest or the fastest. They're the ones who keep showing up, even when it's boring, even when no one is clapping, even when it seems like nothing is working. Showing up means doing what matters, not what's convenient. It means choosing growth over comfort. It means stepping into the room even when your hands are shaking. It means having the discipline to act even when your emotions scream at you to quit. And over time, those choices become your identity. You stop saying, "I wish I were more confident," and start being the kind of person who proves it. This matters because people are drawn to strength, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that's grounded. People feel safe with someone who is centered, someone who's not always reacting or doubting or seeking attention. That safety is attractive. That consistency is magnetic, because deep down, we all want connection with someone who knows themselves and lives with clarity. You don't need to wait until your life is perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to feel amazing every day. You just need to make one decision: I will show up anyway. That's where it starts. And once you do, your confidence will grow like a muscle, day by day, step by step, failure by failure, victory by victory. Real growth is not always visible at first. You might not see the reward immediately, but that's where most people quit. They want fast results, but those who endure, those who commit to the process, those who keep showing up even when it feels pointless, those are the ones who transform. You'll notice your posture change, your tone change, your choices change. You'll find yourself walking differently, speaking differently, choosing differently, not because you're pretending, but because you've built something real from the inside out. That's what people are drawn to: authenticity, stability, inner strength. When you walk into a room with quiet certainty, without needing to prove yourself, people take notice. They don't know exactly what it is, but they want to be around it. That's the magnetism that starts with you, and it only comes through consistent self-respect. That self-respect is earned through daily action. If you're wondering where to begin, start simple. Start by deciding one thing you will do every day, something that pushes you forward. Maybe it's reading 10 pages. Maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's calling someone you've been avoiding. The action doesn't matter as much as the discipline behind it. The point is to train your mind that when you say you'll do something, you do it. That shift builds power. Over time, those small actions become habits. Those habits become routines, and those routines shape the foundation of who you are. You become consistent, you become clear, you become capable, and the people around you feel it. They start to trust you, they open up to you, they follow your lead, because you've done the hard work of showing up for yourself first. Confidence is not something you wait for, it's something you earn, and you earn it by choosing progress over perfection. Action over fear, consistency over excuses. It's not about having all the answers. It's about showing up with the courage to learn. Every time you take action in the face of fear, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your doubt. Every time you stay disciplined when no one is watching, you tell yourself that your word matters, that you matter, and that feeling cannot be faked. People notice that kind of person. They feel drawn to someone who doesn't need validation but gives it freely, who isn't chasing attention but earns respect, who walks with purpose and speaks with care. That's who you become when you show up daily. You don't need to talk about your confidence. It speaks through how you carry yourself, through how you treat others, through how you handle adversity, and that influence extends far beyond words. If there's one truth to hold on to, it's this: discipline is the foundation of confidence. When you show up, especially when it's hard, you teach yourself that you can be relied on. You don't betray your future by giving in to your feelings. You choose what matters, and that choice, repeated again and again, rewires how you see yourself. It creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Don't underestimate what happens when you simply refuse to quit. That quiet decision to keep showing up, day after day, builds something no one can take from you. Not setbacks, not rejection, not failure, because those things don't define you anymore. Your identity becomes rooted in your actions, not your outcomes. And that makes you resilient. That makes you magnetic. Confidence is not for the lucky, it's for the consistent, and consistency begins with one choice: to show up, even when you don't feel like it. Especially then, that's when it matters most. That's when you build something real, something lasting, something that pulls others in without effort, because it's rooted in truth. So today, don't aim for perfect. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just decide to show up. Stand up. Try again. Speak up. Finish what you start. Be the person you promised yourself you'd become. You might be the only one who sees the effort now, but soon the world will see the result. And more importantly, you'll feel it within. That unshakable confidence, not because everything is easy, but because you have become someone who does what's necessary. Every single day. That's what makes you magnetic. And it starts right now. Chapter 2. Listen deeply to understand others with full attention. Most people hear, but very few actually listen. Listening with full attention is one of the rarest and most powerful habits a person can develop. It's not just about silence or waiting for your turn to speak. It's about giving someone your complete presence, your full mind, your undivided heart. People remember how you make them feel, and nothing makes someone feel more valued than being deeply listened to. When you listen like that, you don't just hear words. You hear emotion, intention, hesitation, truth. You connect not just to what is said, but to what is meant. That kind of listening builds trust. It builds respect, and it builds connection that no charm or cleverness can ever replace. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to stand out. You just need to care enough to listen. When someone talks to you and feels that you're truly there with them, they open up, they drop their guard, they speak honestly, and that moment of openness changes everything. Most people are not looking for advice. They're looking to be heard. They're looking for someone who can sit with them in their thoughts without judgment, without interruption, without distraction. That presence is rare, and that's why it's powerful. When you give someone your full attention, you tell them without needing words that they matter, and people never forget that feeling. We live in a world full of noise, constant scrolling, short attention spans, half-hearted conversations. That's why full attention is magnetic. It's unusual. It's unforgettable. And the more you practice it, the more people feel drawn to you, because they feel safe and seen in your presence. To truly listen, you must slow down. You must let go of the urge to respond quickly. You must resist the habit of forming your reply while the other person is still speaking. That habit blocks real connection. You cannot understand someone if you're only half with them. Being present means you're not waiting to talk. You're focused on learning. You're not thinking of yourself. You're giving yourself to the moment. That humility makes people feel heard at a level most never experience. You don't need to agree with someone to listen well. You just need to care enough to hear them clearly. Listening is not the same as obeying. It's not about losing your view. It's about expanding it. It's about letting someone show you how the world looks through their eyes, without rushing to fix it or frame it. That openness makes you stronger. It sharpens your understanding. It deepens your patience, and it teaches you things no book can ever teach. Real listening also requires that you set aside your ego. If you're always trying to be right or prove a point, you'll miss what's really being said. Sometimes, the most respectful thing you can do is allow silence to stretch. Don't rush to fill every pause. Silence often carries more truth than speech. It gives space for the other person to find their words. It shows that you're not in a hurry to move on. That space is where honesty lives. Listening is not passive. It's an active skill. It takes discipline to keep your mind from wandering. It takes humility to accept that you don't already know what the other person means. It takes strength to stay fully present even when the topic is uncomfortable. But when you do, you create something rare, real understanding. And with understanding comes influence, trust, and connection. You'll notice that the people who are most respected are often the ones who speak less and listen more. They don't dominate conversations. They don't interrupt to steer the topic toward themselves. They make others feel heard. And because of that, people are drawn to them. Not because they seek attention, but because they give attention so freely. That kind of presence is grounding. It's calming, and it's deeply attractive. If you want to build stronger relationships, don't try to impress people, try to understand them. Ask questions not to look smart, but to show that you care. Look into their eyes. Notice their tone. Pay attention to what they're not saying. These things tell you more than words ever could. When someone is speaking to you, make them feel like nothing else matters in that moment. Not your phone, not your plans, not your opinions, just them. That choice, practiced again and again, turns you into the kind of person others trust with their truth. Listening deeply also teaches you to manage your emotions. It teaches you patience. Sometimes you'll hear things that trigger you, challenge you, or frustrate you. But instead of reacting, you learn to breathe, absorb, reflect. That pause is powerful. It gives you control. It helps you respond with wisdom instead of impulse. And that response builds respect. It shows maturity. It shows you've trained yourself not just to speak well, but to understand deeply. You don't need to be liked by everyone, but if you want to be respected and trusted, learn to listen better than anyone else. Because people will always seek those who make them feel understood. In business, in friendship, in family, every great connection begins with deep listening. And the better you listen, the more clearly you'll see people. You'll hear the things they're afraid to say. You'll notice the moments when they hesitate. You'll understand their needs before they speak them out loud. And in those quiet observations, you'll gain insight, power, and influence. But more than that, you'll become someone people want to be around. Not because you're loud, or entertaining, or impressive, but because they feel peace around you. Because they don't have to try so hard. Because they feel accepted. And in a world full of noise, that peace is rare. You can start small. The next time someone speaks to you, put your phone away, look them in the eye. Don't interrupt. Don't plan your reply. Just listen. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if there's silence, sit with it. Let the person know that you're really there. That moment might feel small, but it matters, because it's in the small moments that trust is built, and it's in trust that real influence is born. Listening is not about you. It's about the other person. It's about setting aside your need to be heard and giving someone else the space to be fully seen. And that, more than anything else, makes you magnetic. Because when you listen like that, people walk away feeling lighter, stronger, safer. They remember how you made them feel, and that feeling brings them back. Train yourself to become a person of presence, not just someone who hears noise, but someone who receives meaning. Someone who can sit still in a conversation without judgment, without distraction, without needing to dominate. That is a rare quality, but it's a choice you can make daily. And every time you choose it, you grow. You sharpen your awareness. You deepen your empathy. You strengthen your character. In a world that's racing to be heard, be the one who listens. Be the person who makes others feel that their voice matters, that their story is safe, that their presence is welcomed. You don't need to change the world with your words. You can change lives with your attention. And the more you do, the more others will be drawn to you, not because of what you say, but because of how deeply you care. That's the power of listening. That's how you become magnetic. Chapter 3. Speak clearly with honesty, warmth, and real intention. When you speak with clarity, people stop guessing your meaning. They understand your point, they feel your intention, and they respond with confidence because there's no confusion. Clarity in speech builds respect because it shows you've taken time to understand your thoughts before expressing them. When your words are clean and intentional, they carry weight. They cut through noise, hesitation, and misunderstanding. They create a space where people feel safe because nothing is hidden and nothing is vague. And when you add warmth and honesty to that clarity, you don't just inform, you connect. You create trust, and you leave behind a sense of calm strength that others remember. Many people speak without thinking. They talk to fill silence, to appear busy, to feel important. But words without meaning waste energy and dilute impact. To be heard and respected, you must slow down and ask yourself what you truly want to say and why it matters. Speaking with real intention begins in silence. It begins with the discipline to pause and examine your motives. Are you trying to help or impress? Are you being truthful or careful? Are you building trust or controlling the outcome? Until your intention is clean, your words will carry the weight of hidden agendas, and others will feel it, even if they can't explain it. Warmth in speech is not about pretending to be kind. It's about speaking with respect for the other person's experience. It's about knowing that your words are not just facts. They are forces. They can lift someone or break them. When you speak warmly, you communicate that you care. You don't have to flatter or sugarcoat. You just have to bring sincerity. You have to care more about the relationship than the appearance. That kind of communication builds strong bridges, even in hard conversations. Honesty is not the same as harshness. Some people use truth as a weapon. They speak without empathy and call it being real. But truth without compassion is arrogance. When you speak with honesty and warmth together, people open up to you. They don't feel judged. They feel seen. They feel safe. And because of that safety, they listen. They listen because they know you're not hiding anything, and you're not trying to hurt them. You're speaking to connect, not to control. That's the difference between influence and manipulation. You don't need big words or perfect grammar to speak well. You need clarity. You need to get to the point without circling it. You need to mean what you say, and say only what you mean. People are drawn to those who speak directly and kindly. It saves time. It saves energy, and it builds strong foundations in every relationship, personal or professional. Your voice carries more than sound. It carries your values. It shows your mindset. The tone you use, the pace you choose, the words you reach for, all of these reveal how you think and how you treat others. If your words are always rushed or scattered, people feel disconnected. If your tone is always defensive, people pull away. But if your speech is calm, focused, and steady, people lean in. They listen more closely. They trust more easily. One of the most powerful habits you can build is learning to say less but with more weight. When you stop talking to fill space and start speaking to bring value, everything shifts. You begin to choose your words with care. You begin to listen more. And when you do speak, your message lands with clarity and strength. You don't have to explain everything. You don't have to defend every idea. You just have to speak with purpose. And when you do, people notice. They hear the difference. Another important part of clear, warm communication is owning your truth without apology. When you're honest about what you feel, what you want, and what you believe, people can trust you. You're not trying to please everyone. You're not trying to hide discomfort behind politeness. You're bringing your whole self into the conversation, and that kind of presence is rare. It shows self-respect, and it invites mutual respect in return. It also matters how you respond under pressure. Can you speak with clarity when you're uncomfortable? Can you stay calm and respectful when you're challenged? That's where real strength shows. Anyone can speak well when things are easy, but when emotions rise or tension appears, that's when your training is tested. If you can stay grounded and intentional in those moments, people will feel safe around you. They'll know you don't just speak well, you think clearly, feel deeply, and lead with character. You'll also begin to notice that your relationships improve the more you speak with honesty, warmth, and clarity. Misunderstandings decrease. Conflicts become easier to solve. Trust grows faster. You won't have to repeat yourself. You won't have to fix the damage caused by careless words. You'll spend less time repairing and more time building. And over time, people will know they can count on you, not just for what you say, but for how you say it. Speaking clearly is also a way of respecting yourself. When you express your needs and boundaries with calm confidence, you teach others how to treat you. You stop tolerating confusion or manipulation. You make it easy for people to understand where you stand. That doesn't make you rigid. It makes you reliable. And in a world full of noise, reliability is magnetic. This doesn't mean you'll never stumble over your words. You're human. What matters is that you practice, that you pause before speaking and ask, is this true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? That you stay aware of your tone and stay rooted in your values. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. Consistent in your honesty. Consistent in your respect. Consistent in your care. People won't remember every word you say, but they will remember how your words made them feel. Did your words bring clarity or confusion? Did they uplift or shame? Did they invite closeness or create distance? Those questions matter more than any clever phrase or polished delivery. Because in the end, connection is built not on how impressive you sound, but on how honest and intentional you are. You can practice this in every conversation. When a friend speaks, respond with calm and direct words. When you need to express a concern, do it with clarity and care. When someone is upset, don't match their energy. Offer steady, thoughtful responses. These small decisions shape your reputation. They show others who you are. And the more you speak from a place of truth and care, the more people will want to listen. Because your voice won't just communicate information, it will carry the presence of someone who leads with strength and heart. Every time you speak, you send a message not just to others but to yourself. You remind yourself of your values. You reinforce your discipline. You strengthen your identity. So speak like someone who respects both your own mind and the mind of the person in front of you. Speak like someone who chooses words not for show but for service. And when you do, you'll notice something powerful. People will lean in, not because you speak loudly, but because you speak with purpose, with care, and with truth. That's how you become magnetic. Chapter 4. Smile genuinely and make everyone feel truly seen. A genuine smile is one of the most powerful forms of connection we have. It doesn't require words, credentials, or preparation. It simply requires presence. When someone smiles from a place of sincerity, it lowers tension, invites trust, and signals acceptance. You don't need to be perfect, successful, or charismatic to make someone feel welcome. You just need to mean it. A real smile carries an invisible message that says, "I see you and I'm glad you're here." That kind of moment may seem small, but it leaves a lasting mark on the heart of the person receiving it. People are not looking for perfection. They are longing for recognition. They want to be acknowledged, not judged. They want to feel like they exist in your eyes, not as a task, not as a problem to solve, but as a human being. When you look at someone with warmth in your eyes and a sincere smile on your face, you tell them they matter. That moment, though brief, restores something in them. It reminds them of their worth. It makes them feel visible in a world that too often walks by in a hurry. You cannot fake this kind of presence. People can feel the difference. A forced smile that covers disinterest does more harm than good. It creates a gap between what's shown and what's felt. A real smile begins inside. It starts when you slow down and decide to care. It grows when you value the person in front of you. It shines when you let go of distractions and meet someone with your full attention. When that happens, your smile is no longer just an expression. It becomes a mirror reflecting the dignity of the other person. Presence is rare because most people are caught up in their own thoughts. They walk through their day occupied by problems, plans, and pressures. They pass people without truly noticing them. That's why someone who is fully present stands out. That's why a genuine smile is magnetic. It's rare to be truly seen, and when it happens, people remember it. They don't always know why they feel drawn to you. They just feel safer, more open, more human. It's not charm, it's care. Smiling genuinely does not mean you're always cheerful. It doesn't mean you hide your struggles or pretend life is easy. It means you choose to show up with kindness despite it. It means you practice compassion, not performance. It means your heart is open, even when your day is heavy. That kind of strength is quiet, but it radiates. People feel the difference between a smile born of obligation and one rooted in peace. When your inner world is calm and accepting, it naturally shows on your face. Being fully present also means paying attention to more than just words. It means noticing the tone of someone's voice, the expression in their eyes, the energy they carry. When you take in those subtle cues and respond with care, people feel held. They feel understood without needing to explain. They feel like they don't have to earn your respect. They already have it. And once someone feels accepted in your presence, they begin to relax, open up and trust. You don't need deep conversations to make someone feel valued. A passing smile, a kind nod, a patient moment of attention, these actions build bridges. They soften defenses, they make life feel lighter. If you commit to being someone who truly sees people, even in brief encounters, you will become someone others feel drawn to, without knowing why. It's not because you're saying the right things. It's because you're bringing the right energy. You're offering something the world often forgets to give. In a culture obsessed with image, being real is a form of leadership. When your smile comes from a place of truth, it gives others permission to drop their masks. They stop performing. They stop hiding. They feel seen, and they start seeing in return. That's how connection begins, not with impressive words, but with human moments of shared presence. And the simplest way to start that is with a smile that says, "I care." This doesn't mean you have to be outgoing or extroverted. You don't need to light up a room. You just need to notice who's in the room. You need to recognize the person behind the role. Whether it's a stranger, a colleague, or a friend, your willingness to slow down and offer attention creates a space where people feel safe. And in that safety, respect and connection grow. Over time, when you practice seeing people deeply and smiling with sincerity, it changes how you see yourself. You begin to carry yourself with more peace. You're not trying to impress or prove. You're focused on being present and being kind. That inner shift affects your posture, your tone, your pace. It makes you more approachable, more grounded, more trusted. And that energy, consistent and quiet, draws others in. You don't need to fix people to make a difference. You don't need to rescue them or offer advice. Most of the time, people don't want answers. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be received without judgment. Your calm presence and genuine smile can offer that. And when you do it consistently, you create a pattern of safety around you. People start to open up more easily. They start to feel better simply by being near you. That is the power of presence. Every interaction is a chance to practice this. The grocery clerk, the neighbor, the co-worker walking by, all of them carry stories you'll never fully know. But if you treat each one like they matter, if you offer a smile that reflects their worth, you become someone who uplifts without trying to be uplifting. Your life becomes a source of quiet healing for others, and without forcing anything, you begin to build a reputation of trust and strength. In moments of conflict or misunderstanding, your ability to stay present and respond with a soft, sincere expression can shift the energy. Instead of escalating, you calm. Instead of defending, you listen. Instead of controlling, you hold space. That approach disarms tension. It opens a path for honesty, and often just feeling seen is enough to change someone's day. You may not solve their problems, but you've given them something real, your full, caring attention. When people feel truly seen, they grow, they rise, they become more of themselves. And often that growth begins not in long conversations, but in small moments of recognition. A look, a smile, a pause. These are the simple habits that deepen every relationship you have. They cost nothing, yet they carry the weight of presence and intention. Living this way takes practice. It means choosing presence over distraction, sincerity over performance, and care over convenience. It means showing up with eyes that notice and a heart that welcomes. It means choosing to make the people around you feel visible, respected, and safe, not because they've earned it, but because you've decided to lead with values. If you do this consistently, day after day, people will remember you, not because you said the perfect words, but because you made them feel important. You gave them dignity through your presence. You brought warmth where there was coldness. You became someone they trust, not because of charm or appearance, but because of your steady, genuine human connection. That is what makes you a people magnet. Chapter 5. Practice kindness by giving more than you expect. Most people go through life measuring what they give against what they expect in return. They hold back kindness until it's earned. They ration their generosity based on how much appreciation they think they'll receive. But there's a deeper way to live, one that isn't transactional, one that doesn't keep score. When you practice kindness without conditions, when you give without needing recognition, something inside you shifts. You no longer operate from scarcity. You begin to live from abundance. And that quiet strength changes how others experience you. True kindness doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't need an audience. It shows up in small actions that seem ordinary on the surface, but carry great weight underneath. Holding a door, remembering a name, checking in on someone who's struggling, offering a sincere compliment. These moments may take little effort, but their impact is often lasting. And the key is to do them with no strings attached. Not for approval, not to be noticed, not to manipulate a future favor, but simply because you've decided to live generously. When you give more than you expect, you separate yourself from the world of silent negotiation. You're no longer calculating your worth based on what others give back. You're leading from a place of inner freedom. That kind of freedom is rare, and people notice it. They may not always thank you. They may not always respond how you hoped. But over time, your consistent kindness builds trust. It builds respect. It becomes the reason people feel comfortable around you, even if they don't know exactly why. Living this way doesn't mean becoming a doormat. It doesn't mean giving in to every demand or overextending yourself to please others. It means choosing generosity as a principle, not a reaction. It means setting boundaries without bitterness, offering help without seeking control, and walking away from praise without needing it to feel whole. Kindness is not weakness. It's a disciplined strength that resists the urge to match the world's indifference. Most people are tired. Many feel unseen, unappreciated, or forgotten. When you give more than expected, you meet people where they are. You become a light in a place they didn't know they needed one. You remind them that goodness still exists. Not flashy or loud goodness, but steady, thoughtful human decency. And in that moment, even if just for a breath, you restore a piece of their hope. That's how kindness works. It's not about grand gestures, it's about consistency. You don't have to be rich to give generously. You don't have to be successful to offer value. Sometimes your time, your presence, your patience, or your silence is the greatest gift. To listen when someone's hurting, to speak gently when tempers are high, to forgive when holding a grudge would be easier. These are the deeper acts of kindness. They require character. They ask you to rise above ego, and in doing so you become the kind of person others feel safe around. When you choose to be kind beyond expectation, you also train your mind to see more clearly. You begin to notice what others overlook. You start to pick up on moments that could use a gentle word or a helping hand. This awareness deepens your relationships. It sharpens your empathy. You don't just go through your day focused on yourself. You become attuned to the needs of others. And that awareness turns into opportunity. Every room you enter becomes a place where you can add quiet value. But this path requires patience. Not everyone will respond with gratitude. Some people may take your kindness for granted. Some may doubt your intentions, but that's not your responsibility. Your role is to keep showing up from a place of integrity. Your job is to live your values, not manage people's reactions. Over time, your consistency will speak louder than any speech. People trust what they see repeated over time, not what they hear once in a while. To give more than expected is to believe in the ripple effect. You may not see the immediate results of your kindness, but it travels. A word of encouragement today might give someone the strength to keep going tomorrow. A moment of patience might prevent someone from breaking down. A quiet gesture of support might plant a seed of hope that grows long after you're gone. Your influence is often invisible, but it's never without meaning. You can live this principle in every environment. At work, it means showing appreciation even when no one else does. At home, it means being gentle when you're tired. In your community, it means extending grace to people who don't think or live like you. You don't need the perfect words. You just need the right spirit. A spirit that says, I will offer more than what's required, not because it benefits me, but because it defines me. The world will sometimes tell you to hold back, that people will take advantage. That being too kind is naive. But strength is not measured by how guarded you are, it's measured by how grounded you are. When you know who you are and what you stand for, kindness becomes your standard, not your strategy. You give because that's who you are, not because you expect something in return. And that kind of clarity makes you powerful in the quietest way. There's also a kind of kindness that goes inward. Giving more than expected doesn't mean neglecting yourself. It means treating yourself with the same compassion you offer to others. It means forgiving your past mistakes, speaking to yourself with dignity, and honoring your limits. The more whole you feel inside, the more you can give freely without resentment. Self-respect and kindness are not in conflict. They support each other. When your inner life is rooted in care, your outer actions naturally follow. Kindness doesn't always feel good in the moment. Sometimes it asks you to swallow pride, to take the high road, to stay calm when it would feel better to lash out. But afterward, you feel clean. You walk away with peace instead of regret. And that peace is not dependent on others. It belongs to you. It comes from living in alignment with your deepest values. Give more than you expect, not to impress, not to manipulate, but to leave people better than you found them. That's how you build real influence. That's how you earn respect that lasts. Not through force or charm, but through quiet consistency. You show people day after day that you're someone who can be trusted, that your words match your actions, that your care is not conditional. In time, people remember how you made them feel. They may forget what you said or did, but they remember the safety, the warmth, the sense of being treated with value. And they carry that memory with them. They pass it on. Kindness is contagious in the best way. And when you live this way long enough, you don't just influence the people around you, you begin to reshape the culture you're part of. You don't need applause. You don't need credit. You just need to keep showing up with the decision to give more than what's expected. In a world that's often rushed, distracted, or self-focused, this way of living is rare, but it's the rarity that makes it powerful. Be the person who gives because it's right, not because it's noticed. Be the one who leaves every space better than you found it. Be the example, even when no one else is watching. That's how real change begins. And that's how real confidence is built, not by what you take, but by what you give away freely. Chapter 6. Own your energy by managing thoughts and emotions. Every day begins with a choice. Before the world touches you, before anyone calls your name or pulls at your time, you get to decide the tone you'll carry into the hours ahead. The way you think shapes how you feel, and how you feel determines how you move through your life. If you don't take responsibility for what's happening inside you, the outside world will set the tone for you. Owning your energy starts long before you open your mouth. It begins in the quiet space where your thoughts are born and your emotions take shape. The mind is powerful, but it's not always wise. It can create stories, assumptions, and fears that don't match reality. If you let every thought steer your mood, your energy will rise and fall like a leaf in the wind. Owning your energy means becoming aware of your thoughts without letting them rule you. It's realizing that you don't have to believe everything that passes through your mind. You can pause, you can question, you can choose a better response. That gap between what happens and how you react, that's where your freedom lives. It's not about forcing yourself to feel good all the time. It's about learning to face discomfort without collapsing. When something difficult happens, your first instinct might be anger or fear, but that emotion is only a signal. It's not a command. You can observe it, name it, and decide what comes next. That kind of self-control isn't about suppression, it's about strength. It's about guiding your internal world so you don't become a victim of it. Your emotions are not your enemy. They're messengers. They reveal what you value, what you fear, and what you've been avoiding. But if you ignore them or pretend they don't exist, they'll come out in ways you can't control. Owning your energy means being honest about what you feel, without letting that feeling run your life. If you're sad, say it. If you're angry, admit it. Then ask yourself what that feeling needs. Often it just needs your attention, not your reaction. Stillness is a skill. In a loud and restless world, your ability to remain centered is rare and powerful. When you pause, breathe, and return to yourself, you become less reactive. You listen more clearly. You move more wisely. You stop letting chaos determine your mood. That's how you shift from being drained to being grounded. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens through daily discipline. You train your mind the same way you train a muscle, by using it with purpose and awareness. You'll notice that some situations drain you more than others. Some people stir up anxiety or defensiveness without even meaning to. That's not weakness. It's information. It tells you where your limits are and where your growth still lives. When you start paying attention to how you feel after conversations, after tasks, after time alone, you begin to understand your patterns. You see which habits help and which ones hurt. And once you see clearly, you can take action. You don't have to give your attention to every distraction. You don't have to answer every invitation. You don't need to match the energy of people who are loud, negative, or lost in their own drama. You can hold your center. You can decide, I will not participate in this chaos. And when you do, you protect your focus. You preserve your peace. You make room for what really matters. This isn't selfish, it's self-respect. You can't serve anyone well if you're constantly running on empty. Start with small steps. Before you respond to a message or jump into a meeting, take a breath. Scan your body. What are you feeling? Are you tense, calm, agitated, or grounded? That awareness helps you respond with intention instead of impulse. When you walk into a room, set your tone before you enter. Carry your own atmosphere. Don't let the noise decide who you'll be. Bring clarity. Bring calm. That's what it means to own your energy. Not to fake peace, but to create it. Your routines matter more than you think. The way you begin and end your day sets the emotional rhythm of your life. If you wake up and immediately rush into stress, your energy becomes chaotic. But if you start with stillness, even a few minutes of quiet, you train your system to slow down. You remind yourself that you are in charge. The same goes for how you end the day. If you close the evening with gratitude or reflection, instead of numbing or distraction, your mind rests easier and your energy resets. There will be times when your thoughts spiral, when fear, insecurity or shame tries to take over. That's human, but in that moment, you can interrupt the cycle. You can speak truth to yourself. You can say, I may feel this, but I'm not controlled by it. I have a choice. Those words may seem small, but they are powerful. They separate you from the storm. They anchor you in your values. And when you do lose control, because sometimes you will, you don't need to shame yourself. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. Learn from the moment. Ask what you needed but didn't give yourself. Did you need rest, boundaries, time to process? Then give yourself that next time. Every mistake becomes a lesson when you stay awake to your life. The people around you will feel your energy before they understand your words, your tone, your posture, your eye contact. These communicate more than speeches. When your internal state is clear, steady, and sincere, people feel safe around you. They may not know why, but they'll be drawn to it. That kind of presence can't be faked. It can't be manufactured. It's cultivated through self-respect, through honest reflection, and through the quiet decision to keep showing up with discipline. Owning your energy is not about control over others. It's about alignment within yourself. When your thoughts match your actions, when your emotions are acknowledged and directed, when your intentions are clean, you become powerful without being loud. You walk into situations with clarity. You leave spaces without regret. You become someone who doesn't just survive the day, but someone who shapes it. And this discipline extends to your words. The way you speak reflects the way you think. If your language is filled with blame, gossip or sarcasm, it shows where your mind lives. But if your words carry clarity, compassion and courage, people feel it. They trust it. Because it tells them that you're responsible for your own state, that you're not leaking your inner chaos into the room. You can't always control the day, but you can control how you show up to it. You can choose to protect your mind. You can build emotional resilience. You can take full ownership of your energy so that you stop waiting for the world to calm down before you feel okay. You bring the calm, you bring the order, you bring the groundedness that everyone else is searching for. And when you live that way long enough, you don't just attract people, you inspire them to do the same. Chapter 7. Stand tall and move with calm, focused purpose. You can tell a lot about someone by how they carry themselves. Before they speak a word, their body has already said something. The way a person enters a room, how they stand, how they walk, how they hold their head, these are all silent signals. They tell others whether this is someone who is centered or scattered, present or distracted, confident or unsure. Standing tall isn't just about posture, it's about presence. When you carry yourself with calm, focused intention, you don't have to convince anyone of who you are. You simply show up, and that's enough. Many people move through the day without truly inhabiting their bodies. They rush from one task to the next, their mind several steps ahead or stuck in something that already passed. This creates a kind of tension that shows up in their shoulders, in their breath, in their eyes. They're physically here, but mentally scattered. That scattered energy leaks into everything they do. But when you learn to bring your attention back to this moment, to the space you're standing in, to the breath you're taking right now, you regain control of your energy. You stop reacting to every distraction. You stop rushing to prove or explain yourself. You just become solid, steady, and in that stillness, others take notice. Your physical presence isn't separate from your mental state. If your thoughts are full of doubt or fear, it will show in your movement. You'll hesitate. You'll shrink. But when you align your mind with purpose, when you know what matters and why you're here, your body follows. You stand with clarity. You walk with resolve. You become the kind of person who doesn't flinch when things get difficult, who doesn't collapse under pressure. That kind of strength can't be faked. It's built from the inside out. Walking with purpose doesn't mean rushing or pushing. It means moving in a way that matches your intention. You don't need to hurry. You don't need to compete. You just need to be sure. You take one step, then the next, fully grounded in your direction. This steadiness creates a kind of quiet power. Others may be louder, faster, more chaotic, but you hold your ground. That's what creates trust. That's what earns respect. Not noise, but presence. Not speed, but substance. Your energy follows your attention. When you focus on what truly matters, your movements become clean and deliberate. You're not pulled in 10 directions. You're not wasting time on what doesn't serve you. You become efficient without being rushed, decisive without being harsh. This gives you an advantage that doesn't rely on force, it relies on clarity. And when your actions are clear, the results follow. Sometimes you'll face resistance. You'll be surrounded by people who are panicked, impatient, or unclear. In those moments, you can become reactive, or you can become the anchor. Being the calmest person in the room doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're not ruled by chaos. You pause, you assess. You act from clarity, not from impulse. And that pause, that moment of stillness before motion, is where your power lives. Even the way you sit at a table, the way you shake someone's hand, the way you breathe while listening, these things communicate your state. If you're grounded, others feel it. If you're frantic, they feel that too. You don't need to fix everyone. You just need to be the example of what steadiness looks like. When others see that, some will follow, some will mirror that calm. And even if they don't, you'll walk away without regret, knowing you stayed in your own integrity. There will be times when fear tries to make you small, when uncertainty tells you to back down or stay quiet. That's when you stand a little taller, not in defiance, but in decision. You decide not to shrink. You decide not to let fear speak louder than your purpose. This doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you're willing to keep showing up anyway. You lead not by dominance, but by steadiness. You inspire not by performance, but by consistency. Being focused doesn't mean being rigid. It means knowing where you're headed and being flexible in how you get there. It means staying open to feedback, to change, to growth, without losing sight of your direction. You move with purpose, not perfection. And when things don't go as planned, you adjust without losing your calm. You breathe. You reassess. You continue. That ability to stay grounded when the plan shifts is what separates those who survive from those who rise. You'll notice the difference in small moments. When others panic, you take a breath. When someone tries to pull you into conflict, you stay centered. When things don't go your way, you don't spiral. You step back. You recalibrate. You keep moving. This is what it means to walk with focused purpose. You're not chasing anything. You're building something, and every step you take is intentional. Your environment will try to shape you. The noise, the pace, the pressure, it will push against your calm, but you don't have to absorb it. You can hold your own tone. You can create a rhythm that supports your values. This isn't about avoiding challenge. It's about choosing your response. When you walk into a difficult situation and remain composed, you shift the dynamic. You remind others that there's another way to move through the world, one that's not frantic, not reactive, not superficial but real. The way you carry yourself becomes part of your legacy. People remember how you made them feel, how you handled pressure, how you responded when things got hard. Did you collapse or did you rise? Did you blame or did you lead? Every day is a chance to reinforce that story, to walk in alignment with the person you're choosing to become, and the more you live in that alignment, the easier it gets. It becomes muscle memory. It becomes instinct. This is about building inner discipline, about becoming someone who doesn't need applause to stay consistent, who doesn't need ideal conditions to stay focused. You do the work. You take the steps. You stay true, even when no one's watching. Especially then, because in those quiet moments, when it's just you and your next decision, that's when character is forged. And here's what you'll find. The more you stand tall, not just physically but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the more your world changes. Opportunities open. People trust you. Challenges become tests, not threats. And over time you become the kind of person others rely on, not because you're flashy, but because you're real. Not because you dominate, but because you endure. There is power in stillness. There is clarity in slow, steady movement. You don't have to prove your worth with noise. You prove it by showing up, again and again, grounded, present, and intentional. Let others rush. Let them react. You'll move with purpose. You'll speak when it counts. And you'll keep walking forward, head high, heart steady, completely sure of the path beneath your feet. Chapter 8. Ask thoughtful questions that invite trust and openness. The questions we ask shape the quality of the relationships we build. When you ask with care, with real curiosity, and with no agenda other than to understand, people feel it. They feel the difference between being interrogated and being invited to share. It's easy to talk about ourselves, to jump in with our own stories or opinions. But it takes more depth to pause, to lean in, and to say something that makes another person feel safe enough to open up. Most people don't really listen. They wait for their turn to speak. They ask questions just to keep the conversation going, not to uncover something deeper. That's why thoughtful questions stand out. They're not about making conversation, they're about creating connection. When you ask someone how they're doing, and you really mean it, they know. It's in the way you look at them, the tone in your voice, the patience in your silence after the question. You're not trying to fix anything. You're not fishing for drama. You're just giving them space to be real. Asking a thoughtful question starts with being present. If your mind is somewhere else, your words will feel hollow. But when you're truly tuned in, you pick up on subtle cues, something in their tone, a shift in their energy, a hesitation in their answer. That's when you go deeper. That's when you gently ask, what's been weighing on you lately, or what's something you haven't said out loud in a while. These kinds of questions can't be rushed. You can't ask them and then look at your phone. You have to stay there, open, without judgment, letting the silence stretch long enough for the truth to surface. Trust doesn't appear overnight. It's built, moment by moment, interaction by interaction. And one of the fastest ways to build it is to show someone that you see beyond the surface, that you're not just interested in the easy answers, that you care enough to ask something they didn't expect, but something they needed. That moment when someone pauses, surprised by your question, is where the connection deepens, not because you said the perfect thing, but because you showed them that they matter. There's a certain courage in asking questions that invite realness. It means you're willing to hear things that might be uncomfortable, things you weren't prepared for. But if you stay open and you don't try to control the answer, what unfolds is often richer than anything you could have planned. When someone realizes you're not judging them, not steering them, not looking for a specific answer, they relax. Their guard comes down, and in that space, honesty can bloom. You don't need to be a therapist to ask meaningful questions. You just need to care. You can ask a friend, what's something you've been carrying alone, or what's one thing you wish people understood about you? You can ask your partner, what makes you feel most supported by me? You can ask a coworker, what part of your work do you wish got more recognition? These aren't complex questions, but they cut through the noise. They show that you're willing to go below the surface. Sometimes people hesitate to ask deeper questions because they're afraid it will be awkward. But real connection often begins on the other side of awkward. You don't need to force anything. You just need to be sincere. If it feels natural, ask. If it doesn't, wait. The point isn't to pry, it's to invite. And when someone doesn't want to go there, you respect that. You give them room. You ask with grace, and you receive their answer, or their silence with the same grace. There's a certain peace that comes from being with someone who knows how to ask without pressure. It feels like a breath of fresh air. You don't feel evaluated. You don't feel rushed. You feel seen. That's what we're all longing for, in some way, to be seen without being judged, to be heard without being corrected, to be known without having to perform. When you ask with kindness, with sincerity, and with patience, you create that kind of space. And people remember how that feels. The best questions often come from a place of humility. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not trying to prove your insight. You're just trying to understand. That humility disarms people. It creates a kind of openness that can't be faked. You're saying, in effect, I don't know everything. I want to learn more about you, about your experience, about how you see the world. That kind of mindset turns even a simple question into something powerful. Not every moment calls for deep conversation, but when the time is right, you'll feel it. And when you do, don't hold back. Ask the question that's on your heart. Ask the one that makes you a little nervous. Ask the one that shows you're not just interested in what someone does, but who they are. These are the moments where trust is built, not through grand gestures, but through quiet curiosity. And when someone answers you with vulnerability, honor that moment. Don't interrupt. Don't shift the topic too quickly. Just listen. Let it land. Let them see that their honesty didn't scare you away. That kind of response builds safety. It tells them, you can be real with me. I can hold what you share. That is how relationships deepen. That is how connection grows. Over time, you'll find that the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You'll notice yourself asking different kinds of questions, not out of strategy, but out of genuine interest. You'll find yourself caring more about what someone feels than what they appear to be. You'll see the impact your presence has when you truly engage with someone, not to fix them or change them, but simply to know them. We often think that the most important things we say are our big speeches, our opinions, our arguments. But sometimes the most powerful thing we can offer is a well-timed, thoughtful question. One that says, "I'm here, I'm listening, I care." That kind of question lingers in someone's mind. It opens a door, it invites reflection, it invites trust. And once that door is open, so much more becomes possible. This way of asking, of engaging, becomes a way of life. You begin to lead with curiosity instead of assumption. You stop filling silence with noise and instead fill it with presence. And as you do, your relationships begin to shift. They become richer, more honest, more human, and you realize that something as simple as a sincere question can be the beginning of something profound. Chapter 9. Respect personal space and honor every silent moment. There's a quiet power in choosing not to fill every moment. In a world that often moves too fast, where interruptions are constant and the pressure to be visible, to speak, to react, never really eases up, space can feel like a luxury. But it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. Everyone needs room to breathe, to think, to simply be. The way you show respect for that space, both yours and someone else's, says more about you than your words ever could. Sometimes, the most generous thing you can offer is your absence, not in the sense of abandoning, but in the sense of not crowding, not overwhelming, not assuming that being close is always helpful. Some people find comfort in silence. Some people recharge in solitude. Some people need a few feet of physical space before they can feel emotionally safe. And when you respect that, without taking it personally, you show a rare kind of maturity. You show that you understand connection doesn't always mean proximity. In relationships of any kind, family, friendship, romance, even brief encounters, there's an unspoken dance of closeness and distance. It changes constantly. Some days, someone might want to be held. Other days, they might need stillness. If you're paying attention, you'll notice the signs. You'll see it in their posture, in their pace, in their pauses. And when you notice, the question becomes, do you have the patience to honor it? Can you allow for silence, for stillness, for space, without needing to fix or fill it? Many people feel uncomfortable with quiet. They try to interrupt it, to speak into it, to laugh over it. But not every silent moment is a void. Sometimes it's a resting place. Sometimes it's where truth gathers before it's ready to be spoken. You don't need to rush in and save someone from their silence. You don't need to assume that silence means something is wrong. More often, it means something is processing. And when you stay with it, gently, without forcing, it can become a doorway into something deeper. Respecting space means understanding that not everyone moves at your rhythm. What feels natural to you might feel intrusive to someone else. That doesn't make either of you wrong. It just means you're different. It means you need to slow down enough to notice what makes another person feel safe. You don't earn trust by leaning in louder. You earn it by knowing when to back off. By letting someone come toward you in their own time, not dragging them forward. And it's not just about physical distance. Emotional space matters just as much. Sometimes people aren't ready to talk. Sometimes they're not ready to explain. And in those moments, your job isn't to pressure them into opening up. It's to let them know you're here when they're ready. And to really mean it. That kind of patience is rare. That kind of patience tells someone, you don't owe me your story. But if and when you want to share it, I'll be here. There's also something sacred about honoring your own space. You don't have to be available all the time. You don't have to respond immediately. You don't have to be in constant communication to prove your care. Sometimes the most respectful thing you can do for yourself and others is to step back, to let your nervous system settle, to turn off the noise and sit quietly with your own thoughts. That silence, too, has wisdom in it. We've been trained to believe that if a moment is quiet, it's empty. But it's not. It's full of possibility. In the silence between words, emotions reveal themselves. In the space between interactions, people remember who they are. In the stillness between movements, there is rest. There is clarity. There is balance. And when you learn to honor those pauses instead of rushing past them, you start to experience relationships on a completely different level. You begin to notice how peaceful it feels to be around someone who isn't trying to impress you, someone who isn't trying to entertain you, someone who simply allows the moment to be what it is. That kind of presence is rare, and it's healing, because it means you don't have to perform. You don't have to keep the conversation alive just to avoid discomfort. You can just sit, just breathe, just be. Children understand this naturally. Watch how they play side by side, not always talking, not always interacting, just coexisting in peace. They haven't yet been trained to fear silence. They haven't learned to equate space with rejection. They understand instinctively that love doesn't always look like closeness. Sometimes love looks like letting someone be. When you carry that understanding into your adult relationships, everything changes. You stop needing to be right up against someone to feel close to them. You stop fearing the quiet. You begin to see that space isn't a threat. It's a gift. It gives each person room to grow, to breathe, to come back to the connection with more clarity, more ease, more intention. Think about how different your interactions would feel if you stopped trying to fill every pause. If you stopped thinking of silence as awkward, and instead saw it as honest. Imagine how deeply you could listen if you weren't already planning your next sentence. How open others would feel around you if they knew they didn't have to explain every mood, every moment. That kind of presence is transformative. It makes people feel safe. It makes people feel respected. And that respect goes both ways. When you ask for space, ask with grace. When you offer space, offer it without resentment. Let it be clean. Let it be sincere. Don't give someone distance and then punish them for taking it. Don't say you're fine with silence and then fill it with tension. Mean what you say. Let your energy match your words. That's what makes space feel safe. Not just the absence of pressure, but the presence of acceptance. Over time, you'll come to realize that the people who make the biggest impact on your life are often the ones who know how to hold space. The ones who can sit with you in silence without making you feel alone. The ones who can stand beside you without needing to be the center. That's not a loud kind of love, but it's a lasting one. It stays. It holds steady. It honors every unspoken truth. So the next time you feel the urge to interrupt, to explain, to close the gap, pause. Ask yourself if the moment really needs your voice. Ask yourself if the connection would deepen more from quiet understanding than from quick words. Then give yourself permission to lean back, to breathe, to let the silence speak. In that silence, something remarkable happens. Trust builds, awareness deepens, and both people feel seen, not because of what was said, but because of what was honored. Space, stillness, presence, that's where true connection lives. Not in the noise, but in the gentle respect for what doesn't need to be said. Chapter 10. Lead your life with values that attract real connection. Living a life anchored by clear, meaningful values creates a foundation so sturdy that real connection becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Values are the internal compass that guide decisions, shape behavior, and ultimately define the quality of relationships we build. When you live aligned with your deepest principles, You attract people who resonate with the same authenticity, creating bonds that are grounded in trust and mutual respect rather than superficiality or convenience. True connection starts from within. It cannot be manufactured through charm or manipulation. It requires a deliberate choice to live with integrity. Integrity means showing up as your genuine self, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. It means being consistent in what you say and what you do, honoring promises made to others and to yourself. This kind of steadfastness builds a quiet power around you, a magnetic force that draws others in without needing to push or persuade. People sense when someone is whole and trustworthy, and that sense fosters lasting relationships. Leading your life with values also demands clarity about what truly matters. Without a clear understanding of your core beliefs, it's easy to get lost in distractions or to adopt others' expectations as your own. Reflection and self-awareness are necessary to identify these values. What principles feel non-negotiable to you? What kind of person do you want to be, regardless of the situation or who's watching? When these answers become clear, your actions begin to reflect them naturally. This alignment not only steadies your own path, but invites others to walk alongside you in mutual respect. The ripple effect of living by values reaches far beyond yourself. When you treat people with kindness, honesty, and respect, not as a strategy but as a way of life, those around you feel safe to do the same. This mutual respect creates an environment where vulnerability is welcomed, where people are willing to share their true thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. Connection deepens because it is built on authenticity, not performance or pretense. Consistency in values also cultivates patience. Genuine connections don't happen overnight. They require time, trust, and sometimes discomfort. Leading with values means being willing to stay committed even when relationships face challenges or misunderstandings. It's choosing to listen instead of react, to forgive instead of hold grudges, and to seek understanding rather than winning an argument. This kind of perseverance nurtures connections that can withstand life's inevitable ups and downs. Another crucial aspect is humility. Leading with values doesn't mean rigid perfectionism or self-righteousness. It means acknowledging your own limitations and mistakes with grace. When you show vulnerability by admitting where you've fallen short, you model authenticity. This honesty invites others to be real too, dissolving barriers and fostering deeper trust. Humility combined with accountability becomes a powerful foundation for meaningful relationships. Boundaries too are essential in this process. Living by values means knowing where you draw the line to protect your well-being and integrity. It's not selfish to set limits, it's a form of respect, both for yourself and for those you engage with. Healthy boundaries prevent resentment and misunderstanding, creating a clearer space for genuine connection. They communicate what you stand for and what you will not accept, allowing relationships to develop on honest and fair terms. Living aligned with your values also encourages presence. When you are rooted in what matters, your attention sharpens. You become less distracted by trivial concerns or social noise and more focused on the people and moments that truly count. This presence shows others that they are valued. It transforms interactions from shallow exchanges into meaningful dialogues, where each participant feels heard and honored. Real connection thrives in an environment of generosity, and values inspire generosity of spirit. When you live by principles that include kindness, empathy, and service, you naturally give without expecting immediate returns. This giving fosters goodwill and nurtures a community of mutual care. It invites others to respond in kind, creating a network of support and encouragement grounded in shared principles. At times, living with integrity requires courage. It means standing firm in your values even when others don't understand or agree. This courage signals strength, not stubbornness. It demonstrates that you prioritize authenticity over acceptance and truth over convenience. Such conviction can inspire others to examine their own values and pursue genuine growth. Leading by example becomes one of the most powerful ways to attract like-minded people who appreciate your commitment. When your values are clear and you embody them daily, your life gains direction and coherence. Choices become simpler because they either align with your principles or they don't. This clarity reduces inner conflict and cultivates peace. Others sense this peace, which is deeply attractive. It creates an aura of calm confidence that draws people toward you without effort or artifice. In relationships, this alignment also leads to honest communication. When you value truth and respect, your conversations reflect those priorities. You avoid manipulation or evasiveness because they contradict your foundation. Instead, you speak openly and listen carefully, creating a space where trust can flourish. This honesty deepens intimacy and encourages others to be authentic as well. Living by values also means embracing growth. Real connection requires adaptability and openness. It's not about clinging rigidly to a fixed image of yourself or others. It's about evolving while staying true to your core. This balance between steadiness and flexibility is what allows relationships to grow and deepen over time, rather than stagnate or fracture under pressure. A life led by values creates magnetic energy, not the flashy kind, but the kind that feels warm, steady, and inviting. It's the energy of someone who knows themselves, respects others, and acts with purpose. This energy invites people to come close, to trust, and to engage fully. It attracts relationships that are meaningful, sustainable, and mutually enriching. At the heart of it all, leading your life with values is about connection to something greater than momentary desires or external approval. It's about living deliberately, with awareness and intention. This approach transforms relationships from mere encounters into profound connections that nurture the soul and enrich the journey. When values guide your actions, you become a beacon of authenticity in a world often clouded by pretense. You invite others to lower their masks, to be themselves, and to build bonds rooted in reality and respect. That is the foundation for relationships that endure, inspire, and transform. Every day is an opportunity to live by your values, to choose actions that reflect who you truly want to be. In doing so, you create a life that magnetizes genuine connection, because what draws people most powerfully is not what you say, but who you are. And who you are becomes clear when your values lead the way.